Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 411, and today we're doing battle with Samira Pantheon. And so, Samira Pantheon, this was quite the popular deck back during the Glory for Navori standard season. It's a deck that we took into a few of the open events, and it was one of the premier ways to take advantage of Samira if you didn't want to be playing Samira Fizz or Samira Jinx. This was kind of the brawler version of a good Samira deck as opposed to playing an aggressive version. And so, times have changed since then, though, right? We've seen kind of a set and a half come out. The variety patch came out leading into the Eternal season. We didn't play any standard then. And of course, the Heart of the Huntress out now, or Heart of the Siren Song, if you wish to take note of the most visible card out of the Heart of the Huntress set. And so I think it's especially important to kind of circle back to that variety set since nobody really played standard when that was a thing. And so the major addition we're getting to this deck from the ones of past and the days of old, we used to play the Wounded White Flame in this style of deck, but now we get access to the Sacrificial Scholar, and so very powerful 2-drop. This is something that we played a little bit of in Eternal, but not a ton, and whenever this gets targeted with a spell, you get to start adding those back to your hand should the Sacrificial Scholar die. And so this card fits in a wonderful place within this curve. One of the things that I really took to in terms of playing the Samira Pantheon deck in the older format was making usage of the Lunari Cultist, the Cosmic Youngling, and the Samira, all teamed up with the 6 separate equipment for the early game, the Darkened Ballista and the Darkened Lodestone being played to their maximum. And so adding in the Sacrificial Scholar into this additional 2-drop space allows us to really kind of come in and continue these curves to where we play a Sacrificial Scholar on turn 2 or turn 3, then we're able to immediately equip it with a 2-cost equipment, and then also play a 2-cost combat trick to help come in and protect the Scholar. And so it fits in that early game space a little bit better than the likes of the Wounded White Flame, given that the Wounded White Flame costs 3 mana. You couldn't really do that 2-cost combat trick lead in with it unless you had the Darkened Ballista. And so I think it's interesting that the Scholar comes in and gives us a little bit of extra leeway in that sense, and then you'll find him to be exceptionally powerful with cards like Brutal Skirmish. And so the very kind of common lines we'll see with this Sacrificial Scholar is we'll play a gem on it, we'll play a Pale Cascade on it, great, and then we'll just Brutal Skirmish the unit into something else, get a trade, kill off the opposing unit as we kill off the Sacrificial Scholar, but then we'll get that gem, the Pale Cascade, and the Brutal Skirmish back into our hand. And so there's a lot of interesting and powerful combos that he comes in and brings to this deck. The next thing that makes me really interested with this deck in this format is the rise of the Siren Song and the rise of all the Evelynn-based decks. They make such a heavy investment in that Siren Song to where if your opponent say plays the kind of standard curve of Sultur into a Siren Song, they now have 2 husks on the board. Then the next turn they play a big unit. The unit gets to eat the husks, and they have kind of a super unit on board. And so if you are able to deal with that super unit with the use of a silence, then it just gets you so much tempo and gets you so far ahead in the game. And that's where we're getting access to both the Targonian Tellstones in the full amount, and then we're also having the Blinded Mystic. The Blinded Mystic is one of the reasons I was really kind of interested in circling back to this deck, since it's such a good target onto the Sacrificial Scholar. It's such a good target onto the likes of Pantheon, helps us level up our Faded and our Pantheon and our Camphors, while also having this ability to silence off an opposing husk. And so it's a very powerful card in this current format. There's a handful of Targon decks running around these days that are trying to run the Tellstones, the Blinded Mystic, and the Sunburst. And so silences are definitely coming up as being relevant in terms of trying to shut down those husks. So otherwise, this deck, it tends to be very strong against the likes of kind of width-based decks. So in the space of the older format, we were looking to kind of attack the Tristana decks of the world to where they get 6 really just bad units onto the board, and then you're able to just overwhelm through all of those units with the Camphors and the Pantheons. And so that's the kind of big idea with this style of deck, is it's able to really attack those go-wide style of decks, which we are seeing quite a bit of right now with the usage of the Siren Song, not just in the Evelynn deck, but in a lot of the Bilgewater variants and the P&Z variants that are just looking to flood the board. Being able to just attack with a giant monster through a bunch of 2 and 3 health units is a very powerful thing to be doing. And so that's the deck. That's what we're going to be doing battle with today. And we are definitely going to be paying to win today. I've been so excited for this Samira. We haven't had a real opportunity to come in and just drop the Soul Fighter Samira. I've been waiting so long with this. It's so nice having these ultra playable Noxan champions. And that's what we're doing today. Welcome to Premium Land Samira. I hope you are ready for action, ready to challenge down the opponents to the best of your abilities. And let's jump on in, get ourselves some good games. So, oof, feels good. Feels good. I've been waiting on that. It's so nice. As Riot decided to come in and take Legion Rearguard away from us to just at least give us a really powerful Noxan champion in its place. Getting us access to a little bit of this Samira. All right, into the first battle, though, up against Evelynn Diana. This is most certainly one of the Husk-based decks. Diana gives them a little bit more early game. She's a very good challenger in the early space. So we'll see how this one lines itself up. So as far as this hand goes, happy to start with a couple of twos. This isn't a matchup to where we're really looking to take advantage of the Cosmic Youngling. And so I think it was okay to mulligan that one away, even though it is a 2-drop. Now, we did pick up the Sacrificial Scholar along the way. Very powerful bro. Ready to get him down on this next turn. Start loading him up with Faded. See if he can't get some strong combats in. Alright, so I'm just going to go with the Darkened Ballista on this one. As we roll into this next turn, I'd like to get Samira on the board, and if we're going to have the chance to challenge something down, I'll be happy enough to take that opportunity. And then if opponent does add a unit to the board, or doesn't add a unit to the board, just attacking for 6 is quite strong all on its own. Not looking to play the Flare this turn, though. I want to bank up this mana for the next turn, so we can look to drop a Darkened Lodestone, or we can look to use the Furious Wielder if we need to. So we don't get the level ups on our Pantheon this way, but I think it's a nice way to add some strength to the board still. So this is what we're talking about in terms of the strength of having all of these silence units. We haven't picked one up right away, but if we are able to come in and drop the silences onto, say, this Steam right now, that would just be such an incredible advantage to jump in front of our opponent with. And so much strength if we're able to do that. So with the board, though, it's not really going to come together. I'm going to go ahead and just Furious Wielder off the Steam, get him out of the way. The opposing units are going to be too small to interact with our Scholar, and then we can look towards Pantheon next turn, maybe load somebody up with a Darkened Lodestone, continue on this unit building. I wonder, like, our Pantheon's not leveled up this turn. Interesting with Blind Mystic as well, but I was thinking, do we want to actually, say, just go ahead and Flare, hook in the Husk, still getting this good combat with the Sacrificial Scholar, and then not really investing in Pantheon until next turn? I think I'm okay with this. Let's go ahead and take this route. Give Samira a challenger. Send in these dudes. And then it's not a bad spot to just go ahead and add in Pantheon. Like, we'll have to see what the opposing play is in terms of, are we going to be able to
I know that look.
Safely add this stuff to the board. But that was a juicy round. That was juicy.
Stamp you out like the insect you are.
So Domination comes in. Do we want to go ahead and drop the Silence onto her? It's a good way to just go ahead and grab this Faded. The Enraged Husk is going to load up a unit next turn, though. Kind of leaning towards just adding Pantheon in, but it's like Pantheon's such a better play next round. Let's do this. Let's just go with the Cultist.
I will end their cyclical
We can take this full 3-bank in, and then we can look to just level up Samira next round, maybe. I guess the question is, do we want to protect our Faded Scholar from an open attack? Such a big unit. Let's just let it go. I think if he realistically wants to open attack with domination into our scholar, then I'm just gonna be happy enough with that. Doesn't strike me as a very good play. So we can save up our mana a little bit, get the faded on the scholar this round, start trying to pursue the Samira flip. Really power up. Now, one thing to note with the... Oh, wrong card. I was like, why can't we play the gem on our unit? One thing to note with this round is or with the Blinded Mystic, is it can't hit opposing champions. And so if opponent comes in with an Evelynn or something this turn, not going to be able to stop her. But this board looking strong. Not a bad Sunburst. But opponent's tapped down so low, I don't think we have to worry about him dropping units on us anymore. So let's add in Pantheon. Gonna load him up with the Darkened Lodestone. And then next turn we'll give him the target with the Blinded Mystic. Oh no, we don't have our Samira skin loaded up. What a rookie mistake, man. What a mistake. I got the skin and didn't even load it up. Embarrassing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so bad at this. Didn't mean to be so bad. Alright, so how do we want to go about this, though? The thing I have for this turn is I'd like to keep the Blinded Mystic ready in the event that it needs to go after Zolani. So if opponent plays Zolani this turn with the intent of open attacking, we'll have the Mystic to try and bring the silence onto it. And so with that in mind, I think we just want to drop a gem and then get to work. So let's take this Pantheon flip real quick, see what happens. We'll send in the squad. We can also look to just build towards the Samira flip. We should be able to get an attack in next turn off of a rally. So where are our lodestones, right?
No problem. No move.
Get an attack like this.
Sun.
Probably would rather boost Pantheon than Samira, right?
This should be fun.
Okay.
Try to keep up. Crawl.
Oh wow. I did not expect it to to just say, here you go. We have the double flare in hand to end this game now. I mean, I guess that's the best he could do. But cool. Ah, he's got the heal. Okay, okay. Still looking pretty good though, right? I gotta think we're in pretty good shape. I had to stop and think. I wasn't paying enough attention to decide if we could play 5 cards this turn, just to go ahead and get the rally right away. We're gonna be a bit off from it. Ow. Somebody's about to be loaded up. So we'll see. I'm curious if opponent's just kind of done doing stuff at this point. We can look to, since we're going to overbank a bunch of mana, we can go ahead and just play the Darkened Lodestone onto someone that already has the Darkened Lodestone attached to it. Just to give us an additional spell cast. That's how we just go for the lethal, right? So we can Lodestone and then Lodestone again. That's how it's done. Lodestone, Lodestone. Alright, I knew we could get there.
to keep
One to
up.
the Nexus, one to the Nexus.
Thrilling.
End with the attack now. GG. Alright. Alright, good stuff. Glad we got to showcase that in the first battle, even if we didn't have our skin primed and ready. It can be tough. Let's go ahead and fix that right now. Let's fix it. Feel like you all are losing out by not having it set. Ooh, wrong button. Here we go. There's the Soul Fighter Samira. Now we're definitely ready for battle. Right. Next battle. Whew. So what do we got? Samira Annie. A little bit of P and Z in there. Sure, this is some kind of delightful aggressive number. And so let's hang on to the Samira. Everybody can have a Samira today, but then we'll dig for another earlier play, see if we can't get something to throw down on board. Stop their aggression just a little bit. Not a terrible pickup with the Scholar. We'd of course be hoping to hit the Cosmic Youngling in this match, but you know, one thing at a time. Hey, there it is. You're our one thing at a time. Ready to load the Youngling up with some Targonian Tellstones. That's gonna be the hotness, right? Ooh. He's not expecting the Ravenbloom Conservatory to come in. Well, I think we still want to go with the Youngling. I guess, like, at the end of the day, we could look to like load up Samira and send her in, but I just don't think I can get excited about that. The thing that ultimately worries me, though, is if we're gonna run into a card like Disintegrate. At least if we're gonna be dropping spells onto the Sacrificial Scholar, it'll be able to, you know, send this Pale Cascade back to hand. Definitely want to go ahead and drop it first. I think I don't want to like just miss out on this damage, miss out on the faded, and then just play the spell after combat. I don't think we're going to get too clever out in front of this Flash Bomb Peddler. So, all right, not bad. Interesting stuff. Like I'm looking at this, and I mean, we have good choices in trying to load up the Sacrificial Scholar with spells, but it's also quite strong to just go into the next turn and try and play Samira and put a removal onto. Yeah, this is tough. Let's do this. I'm just gonna put the Ballista on the Youngling, and then we'll see what the opponent does. It's tough to tell whether or not that was like a legitimate target onto the Sacrificial Scholar, or if he's just trying to load us up with Flash Bomb traps. Like right now, I don't think we need to get too crazy on this board.
I excel at making heads turn.
Crazy with the
and roll.
Samira, though. Good out. Stylish daredevil, huh? I think I've heard those words before. I don't quite remember if I've had that knowledge of Samira words before, but right, reasonable enough. See, this is what we're kind of talking about with the Sacrificial Scholar. We've soaked up a bunch of spells with it. If the opponent wants to, you know, spend another one on it, once this thing dies, we get all those Pale Cascades back in our hand. But you can't just completely ignore it, right? This is a very real unit that's coming at the opponents, doming in for 4 damage now. And so, you know, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. So get the 2 Pale Cascades along with the Expanse's Protection back in hand, ready to get to business next turn. Uh-oh. Not a huge fan of Samira taking damage. Nonsense like this starts to happen. So we'll soak that. It's tough for opponent to have a removal spell that can take Samira down here, right? You could have a Blade's Edge for certain, but I think we want to come in and try and get a flip on her. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to Pale Cascade, so when we go into next turn, she'll just be healed, right? And then pick up a Cultist. Okay. It's just Blade's Edge, right? Blade's Edge is the scary one. This is gonna feel bad. It's like I don't like dropping below the Expanse's protection mana, but I also really want to be able to hook this Broadmane next turn with Samira. Fine.
Deluded fool. Don't
Fine.
hold
It's just the best excuse, the best answer for making any of these plays, right? Fine. Okay. You didn't have the Blade's Edge. Alright. I was like, after we did all that work, and then the flash bomb comes in. But it only hit the Cultist, so we're okay in that sense. I think we want to get an open attack, though, before Tybalak comes in. Let's just go ahead and flare. Put a boost on our smaller unit. Everybody can come in. See where that gets us. We could have let out with a blinded mystic to try and just take down the just to take the silence on the Broadmane, but I think this is safe. We can still, like, if we really need to try and get out of this, we can hush the Broadmane. I don't think that's going to be a thing, but the opportunity's there. Now that its opponent's tapped out, we should be real close to getting this kill.
Blink and you amuse me.
Come out, wherever you are.
So Annie makes this a little bit awkward. Can't quite crash in for enough with her sitting on the board, but I mean, we're so close to the lethal anyways. I'm leaning towards just adding in the Scholar. I'm going to gem the Scholar, then I'll flare the Samira, and we'll just send in an attack. Alright, opponent says that's too much. That's too much, Bust. You soul fought us way too hard.
For them, the last
GG.
thing they saw was me.
Alright, next battle. Man, these Soul Fighter skins got me reminded of American Gladiators. they have the American Gladiators documentary on Netflix now. It was kind of whatever. It felt to me like it was a 5-part series that could have really been covered in about 2.5 parts. But the American Gladiators were just such a big power, such a big force in my youth. It was quite nostalgic to see them turn up. Because I distinctly remember one of the things we did when I was a kid was we had one of those like sectional couches, right? The ones that you could kind of like pull apart and move all the cushions and everything. And so we would make forts out of that. You know, that's what kids do. But once American Gladiators got big, we would arrange those couch cushions to be like the assault event. And so you would have like this pathway where you're running and someone would have a Nerf gun shooting at people, and then someone else would throw tennis balls at a laundry basket. Had our own little assault going in the basement. It was a good time for the kids, and so I distinctly remembered that being a part of my youth and a part of my growing up.
Power eclipses both day and night.
Seems like most of those people are doing pretty well, though. You know, it's like none of them have died. None of them seem to have gotten like really obnoxious coke habits or something and landed in prison. And so, you know, that's at least good on them. But back to the action here. Let's do this. I'm going to put the Darkened Lodestone onto the Cultist. I definitely want to get an equip this turn to make sure that we both get a target and get this extra gem. But taking the Cultist up to 4 health means that it'll survive a Brittle Steel. And so if opponent has a Elixir of Iron, they could look to protect our LeBlanc with it. But if they just have, you know, Brittle Steel, having this 4 health unit could be quite critical.
Few earn the right to call themselves Trifarian.
Alright, and so I don't think this is a spot I want to be dropping Pantheon. Like, we need to get him leveled up. So I think we're just going to be dropping Cosmic Younglings. We can look to take the 5 off of LeBlanc, but then Pale Cascade through the Trifarian Assessor. Just to go ahead and get that unit off of the board. I think this is okay. It's very tough to get a defensive position in front of LeBlanc to where you feel okay blocking her, right? It's just so easy for her to get bonus attack or for them to boost up her health or have a frostbite or something, and so I'm not really amped about just throwing units in front of her. Well, it does feel much safer as you have Hushes from the Targonian Telstones. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and drop another equipment. We'll get this Pantheon on board soon enough. Ew. It's only got 1 mana, though. I mean, we can look to go towards the Targonian Telstones and try and really boost the Cosmic Youngling. Maybe that's the way we'll take this. Uh-oh, hang on. We don't have... we don't have the mana for that +3/+3. Oops. And there's the Brittle Steel. Uh-oh. That's a little bit more problematic. All right, well, not a huge investment in the round, and actually weakening down this Hearthguard's not terrible. He's in range of fighting with Pantheon now.
Faster than my arrow? I think
All
not.
right, Ashe comes on board. So I'm leaning towards Pantheon here. So if he attacks with Ashe, the Ashe arrow is going to hit Pantheon, and then we can still block the Hearthguard with the
I need
Cultist.
just a moment.
That's the idea. Well, he's getting a good hook somewhere. We can still block with Pantheon. He's not at risk of dying here. The question is, do we ever want to shoot Pantheon, or shoot the Cultist up to have more attack than Pantheon? And I don't think we do. No need to get too crazy with this Cultist. There is some argument to take it up to 3. So if he has an Elixir of Iron instead of a Brittle Steel, then we have the ways to get the takedown on these units, but...
Remember this.
Yeah. This lets us at least have a little bit more mana for next turn. So let's go ahead and gem Pantheon first. I want to see if he gets a Spell Shield put on him. I don't want him to get Frostbitten before he gets access to Spell Shield, so we'll target him first. Then I'm going to look to drop Camphor, and then after Camphor is on the board, we'll probably throw the Darkened Ballista onto him. We'll see. I guess the Ballista hook isn't that spectacular, but... This nonsense. Pantheon's not big enough to fight any of these dudes. Fearsome Challenger, Spell Shield,
Victory requires a sharp
Augment.
blade.
We have already faded for the turn, but the thing doesn't look lit up. I like the idea of being able to target the Pantheon and still get an attack in.
Cradle the air in your lungs and the love in your heart. Live.
Alright, well, I'm just gonna stop here. Is this safe? Yeah, Ashe is pretty far away from flipping. Okay. That's where we stop. Not a particularly strong turn, but we can fight through quite a bit on this upcoming round.
For glory, you're mine.
Alright, get your stats, boo. It's a big old Pantheon, ready to put in the work. Gonna give him a lodestone. I want to start putting these. Uh-oh.
Burning the pyre.
That's scary. I was not expecting an additional attack to come in this turn. It looks like we're about to do some blocking. But I was going to say I want to get into the spot to where we can start getting these Naganikas on the board so that we have the big Overwhelm Bro to go along with Pantheon, but that was bad. That was a lot of damage I wasn't really expecting. I hadn't been paying close attention to our health total. I was like, he's playing these dumb cards. We'll be fine. But this is not that ideal. Let's add in the Naganika. It's going to give us an opportunity to shoot down some of his units. So if he doesn't have a Frostbite, let's just pass. I'm going to say if he doesn't have a Frostbite, then we get the kill on his dude.
We fight for one Freljord.
Alright, get them machine gun shots headed down here at the end of the turn. Jeez.
You should have run. Come on, boys.
Now with this, what should happen here? This is kind of an interesting spot, right? Is we're going to get into combat. Our units are going to come back to the back line, right? And so our bigger unit is going to be to the left. And then assuming opponent doesn't play anything else, our abilities are going to activate left or right. And so we want our actual big Naganika here to be getting into shots with the Avarosian Hearthguard, as that gives us the way to not have this Naganika die, right? Let's just stop here. I might want to play a Brutal Skirmish, but that's kind of interesting. Opponent, probably attacked with those units in the wrong order, not realizing how this left to right motion was going to happen. Very interesting to see that come into relevance. Now it's time to just zing him, right? Zing him real good with all these darken. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Say, where are you at, Aatrox? Where you at, dude? We're out here doing all the darkened stuff without you. Nice. Ooh, that's what I love about these equipment so much, man. They're so good early, they're so good late. Just having this idea of playing a 2-drop and a 2-drop and an equipment to go on it, but then that equipment just being so strong in the late game. It gets me warm on the inside. Makes me want to talk about American Gladiators a little bit more. So good, so good. It's easy to forget how good these Darken are as everyone is out here busy playing their siren songs. Everybody forgot about old Aatrox. Alright though, into the next battle, up against Illaoi Swain. This is kind of a tough spot. I like hanging on to transfusions because it's so good with the Sacrificial Scholar, but we don't have any other units on board, so there's a very real chance that it doesn't do anything. I think I'm going to kind of just roll the dice with it and see how it goes. We should be able to, at worst, go Scholar into equipment and still feel pretty safe with him on board, but there shouldn't be, like, I guess they could have Tentacle Smashes, which would be quite good on the Scholar, but otherwise I don't think we have to worry about as much. Alright, bring your hooks. Bring your hooks, bring them on in. Bring them on in, my dude. Ooh, now Samira turns up. She's not that spectacular on this board. There's no units that she can hook down. Let's just send in an attack. This feels like a pretty reasonable spot to just take a 3-bank. Roll into the next round, maybe play Samira next turn and cast a spell and stuff, and have the Wandering Shepherd plus Samira 2 turns from now. I dig it. We have a lot of stuff we can do with our... we have a lot of stuff we can do with our spells here, but now that this has happened, I'm like a little curious to myself if we need to like rush off an additional unit. I think the Darkened Lodestone's going to be good. It gets the Scholar back out of hired gun range. And then next turn, we'll still have the mana to, say, play a Samira and a Transfusion if we need to.
Ah, a beautiful day for sailing. Don't ask for permission or forgiveness.
So we can do, say, like the point of damage with the Transfusion onto the Scholar. Have it gain the bonus health and then be able to still give +2/+2 to Samira if we want. I don't think we need to get too crazy on this board, though. This feels like a pretty good pass, and then next turn we can look to just challenge down the Seas of Voice with Samira. Yeah, I'm not in a hurry, bro. Also helps, like, I don't think we're going to be in the spot to flip Samira next round, but getting this 3-bank really helps in that sense of being able to build up to it. So let's go Wandering Shepherd. Kind of like Pot of Pain. Just gives her that extra bit of health. I'm not certain the removal that the opponent's going to be running, but lets her survive the Tentacle Smashes here, lets her survive Bird Strike, whatever, 2 damage to a unit, 1 damage to a player, whatever that thing is called. And so lots of real options. Here I'm just going to kill off our 2/1. See if he sneaks in a Disintegrate now. Nope.
No problem.
Alright, battle time. It's kind of an interesting side advantage of playing all of these silences as well as we come up to battle against something like Illaoi Swain, and we have access to just all these silences, right? So if they run out with the big tentacle, then we're able to blinded mystic it or whatever. Very, very powerful. Alright, then Samira is at 4 of 6, and so if we want, we can look to say maybe play the blinded mystic and then one other card to flip, probably the Darkened Lodestone. We'll see how this turn goes. I'd love to see opponent spend a bunch of mana in a way that they don't need to. And then let us just kind of sneak in these flips, but I think the Mystic here will be fine. Is it even worth the silence on the Tentacle? Like, it's only losing a 1 point of stat. Let's do this. Let's just silence off one of these idols. We still have the Tellstones in hand if we really need a hush. What? I think we feel better here.
Beautiful and brutal, just how I like it.
Okay. We're in a pretty good spot to just go after Swain. Even if he has a flip, we have a million all-outs in hand now. So, Lodestone. Or does Samira have a load? No, Samira has Pot of Pain.
All must follow. This should be fun.
Alright. You're definitely right, Samira. This should be fun. This should be fun. I'm digging it. Looks good.
Thrilling.
So we can't quite generate the rally this turn. We could get a rally next turn, though. I'm curious if we want to, like, how deep we want to just go with this board. I mean, I'm leaning towards just playing the Tellstones and then just going ahead and picking up the Blessing of Targon. And we can slap that onto the Sacrificial Scholar, so if he does get killed, we still get a bunch of really good spells back in hand. And then next turn, we'll have all of these all-outs in case we need to... in case we need to do some combat trickery, I guess. It's a bit unfortunate we're going to have to, like, spew them right off at the beginning. It's going to be very apparent that this attack is coming in, but... should still be strong. Oh, Jesus. Is this bad? No, it's not. It is not. Well, this is one of the weakest Riptide Rexes I think I've ever seen. Let's give Samira a Challenger. Let's drop a Pale Cascade onto the Scholar. It's his third spell. So if he does die off here sometime soon, he's going to be able to send those back to us. Very strong collection of spells on him as well. This is the last card to get the rally.
Isn't it thrilling? Want to prove yourself? Now's your
We need
chance.
to go ahead and play this other all out. We should have... We can leave the Leviathan on board, I guess. Hang on, I don't like how we've just ran these out.
No problem.
I guess this is okay. I was envisioning that we were just going to come in and protect the Sacrificial Scholar, but I think this is safe. He's going to have to give up Riptide Rex. Right, this isn't a deck that's going to have Condense in it. We're going to get all those juicy spells back in our hand, and then we can look to pop off again next turn.
Try to keep up.
It was pretty good. Lead that the Transfusion, Blessing of Targon, Pale Cascade. Lots of power coming right back. Alright, then don't want to overspend the mana here. I want to be able to flip this Samira again.
Hope they're watching.
Alright, that should be a good start.
Thrilling.
Big Daddy Swain comes in, and we should be good from here. We're gonna pop off another rally. We'll hook the Swain with the Samira. This is one of those spots to where we could have taken the Overwhelm on Samira and had a lot easier time coming in just dealing a ton of damage in this spot. But I think this is still, you know, going well. That will give us the rally. Still one short? Apparently we're one short. Fine.
Think that you'll miss me. Isn't it thrilling? Follow me.
So you can still get out of this. You can have stun. You can have a disintegrate combo, like a disintegrate, make it rain or something. But we're looking pretty good. There's probably a less sloppy way to sit around and think about how to go about that one, but where that game was about to go is just starting to summon Harazis and start to summon...
Easy. Where was the
when you have access to that Blessing of Targon, you can potentially go and just start taking the Invoke. It's another card that's got so much flexibility to it. And we picked up Pantheon there at the last turn of the game as well, so lots of opportunities for action. I typically see that spot as being in a space where they can probably answer one unit, but they can't answer both. And so he can probably potentially stop himself from dying by taking down the Stellacorn, but excuse me, he probably can't protect his Pantheon there. All right, next battle though, up against Evelynn Viego. See how it goes. It's an interesting start in that the only card you have to really worry about in the early game is Hate Spike. Well, typically out of the Targon versions, dude's running... Oh, he's playing the Viego one. I'm curious if we probably have to worry about stuff like Quietus. What I was trying to wrap together in my head was how greedy we're allowed to be in terms of putting these units on the board. And I think we have to at least try and bait out some cards with our less high quality units here. So let's just go like this. let's just get young out here. Why not? He's got a Siren Song, sure thing. That's a good one. The spell shield is always a problematic husk. Here's the Quietus. Okay. It's a bit unfortunate. I was really hoping to get this big chunk of damage in this turn, but I think this angle was... It's I guess, I don't know. It's one of these spots where I probably need a little bit more experience before I start making big comments on the matter, but
How about we live a
to
little?
where we're at here just like running out Samiras, maybe we just have to be aggressive about it and send Samira out. So it's tough.
Don't ask for permission.
But she
or
should be safe to
forgiveness.
add to the board now. He's going to do something with Steam, whatever.
Or scream.
Then we can look to hit Samira with the Wandering Shepherd next turn.
There's power in water.
I want to have our big Stellacorns, though. Our younglings getting into action took it away from us. They like the tier
There
of
are
an
two
Aurora.
types of people, the
Truth.
quick and the
Preach it.
dead.
Sink or scream.
That's one of my most common sayings in life. Give me that Aurora flavor. It's interesting that we picked up Darkened Ballista. Now we can look to... if he adds a unit, we can hit it with the Blinded Mystic. Can't hit Evelynn with it, but...
Coals and all the time in the world.
Everything a girl could die for.
had options if there was another one. Oh man, and she hit another Spell Shield Husk.
Painful.
Okay. Nothing we can do about that.
Hope they're watching.
Nothing to do about that. Is this going to be a hate spike? Is he really gonna hate spike away the spell shield? It's like literally the best husk he can have in this spot, and so putting it to waste is a big deal. It's just, it should be scary at this point, us having combat tricks, and if he goes for the hate spike and doesn't even kill the Samira, then that's going to be pretty disaster mode for the opponent.
Anyone seen any sheep around here? I lost mine.
Maybe we'll at least get Samira to flip. I mean, she's most certainly going to die this turn, right? She's going to have to get into combat with Evelynn and then lose out. But if we take the flip for the round, if we draw another Samira, then she'll be ready to go.
Playtime.
This is brutal. Okay, GG. Never beating that. Ooh, almost as fun of a mechanic as the Sump Factory. I've kind of held my salt in. Is it Sump Factory? I can't remember the exact name of the card. The game just crashed? The thing that shuffles the puff caps in the deck. I've made the decision with the Sump Factory that I've played card games for over 20 years of my life. I started playing Magic when I was like 10. And I was trying to think earlier today, throughout the history of like all the games that I've played, if there has ever been a card to where it gets played and then neither player has fun from that point forward. And that's what Sump Factory does, right? You you play the Sump Factory and then you're just stuck in this mini game to where you know, I maybe there's somebody out there that has fun just like competitively rolling dice, but I guess there's technically a lot of people that really enjoy competitively rolling dice, but that's what it feels like at that point. I had a really obnoxious game earlier where I put like 80 or 90 puff caps into the opposing deck, and then they just kept hitting for like one. And it's just so ultra frustrating to have that nonsense happen, but. That I felt like it should be considered an award-winning card in the sense that it's the only card that throughout my history of gaming that I can think of to where you can play it and then neither player has fun. And so job well done on that card creation.
Both day and night.
All right, moving further into battle. The opponent's playing Jinx Kennen. This is a Returno Wrench deck. You see the Returno Wrench hit in on Kennen now. This is fine. I think that we can safely get our attacks in when Kennen doesn't have quick attack. And then next turn, now that we have the double transfusion, we can be in a spot to actually block him and survive. Sure. So we lose out on our Stellacorn, but it just soaked up a ton of resources, and so no complaints there. Nice draw with the Scholar.
Stand with me.
And that was a play that you're going to want to watch yourself with a little bit. If it's kind of clear that you would prefer to have the Forge Chief off the board that returns a bunch of stats around, but if you're able to leave their impacted unit on the board, it gives you the chances to make them discard real cards, right? So if he has to discard a physical unit instead of discarding a Returno Wrench, then we're able to pick up a little bit of an advantage. I think that's enough. Let's send him. We'll definitely be adding in Camphor next turn. Alright. Big 6-piece nugget right to the dome. Alright, well. Oh, can we? We got overly aggressive by one gem. I really want to be able to play a gem next turn and then also drop Camphor, or play literally anything and then play Camphor. But put that extra gem onto the Scholar, probably a mistake. I mean, I guess at this point he would be the target of the Electro Harpoon, which is kind of annoying, but is tough. I do no blocks.
Jinx stands for Jinx. Grr.
She's scary. Let's cycle that to Pale Cascade. Oh, there's the boy. There's who we want. Okay. Let's see if old Pantheon can't pick up a lifesteal on this next turn. Just show the world how fun he can be. So we have enough mana to do pretty much everything here, right? We can add the Sacrificial Scholar, we can target it with the Ballista, then we can add Pantheon so he'll be flipped. I guess that's actually a little closer than I'm giving it credit. It's just like such a deal breaker if we're able to put the Ballista onto Pantheon for the target, and then him have that additional attack. Okay.
We were never fated to bow.
He's got a bunch of dudes I don't care about. Load up the Pantheon. Let's see how it goes, my dudes.
They all must die.
Something cool? Did we hit the good ones? Lifesteal in the mix. Nice. Lifesteal, Elusive, Challenger, Brash. I would not mind gaining an ass load of health.
We must.
So do we want to just give up on him at this point? I mean, he's got barrier, I guess. If opponent wants to cast a spell onto him, you do still have transfusion in hand. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful right there. Gotta love seeing that. I guess after running into the double husk with the spell shield, it's only appropriate to just hit this nutty Pantheon on the following turn, and so yeah, our RNGesus can swing multiple ways, I guess. Brutal Skirmish is an interesting pickup as well. It's one of these things you'll want to watch. We're not gonna be super relevant with it here at this moment,
Rules are made
but
to be broken. Like buildings. Her people.
finding yourselves in spots to where you Brutal Skirmish off your life-stealing Pantheon, so that you get to gain a bunch of health even if he's not in combat, be a very powerful proposition. I'm trying to remember the spells on our Scholar. It's probably not super worthwhile. Investing in oh shit, that did not get that did not get the Scholar big enough. I thought that we were gonna Brutal Skirmish the Scholar and have it just take down Jinx. Whoops. See if opponent does something to react. Oops. No, he's going to. Appreciate it. No. He did the mathematics on that one. He said, oh, turns out Jinx isn't gonna survive this mess. Alright, let's tighten this back up. A little worried blocking with Pantheon here. He doesn't have Spell Shield, and given the way opponent put a card forward and pulled it back, I'm pretty confident that he's got a blowback in hand. Alright, we're good now.
Die war!
See if that does it.
Not on my work.
8 damage directly out of Pantheon, right? He's 7 plus he has impact for the 8. The other angle we can look to take, if he's going to come in and drop a bunch of spells onto Pantheon to try and get the kill on him, we can look to transfusion +2 attack onto the Camphor and then strike down the Jinx. So regardless of what opponent does here, I think we're gonna be safe from either angle. All right, so he goes after the Pantheon. He'll 1 to Pantheon, 2 to Camphor. And we're gonna pick a Jinx, pick a Pantheon. Get that boom in, call it a day. A little sloppy, but got there at the end. I appreciate it. GG. And so, not a bad set of games. We can pull this up, talk about it just a little bit more. I think we got a good swath of the format across those games, and so very strong, very real. And so we did, run up against the Evelynn deck and have a little bit of trouble. That's one of the problems with the strength of the Spell Shield Husk. As far as the Evelynn deck goes, I'm not in the camp of it really needing nerfed that hard. Like, I don't think we need to see a hotfix patch to shut down Siren's Song. I don't think it's that powerful, but I'm not going to be surprised when the balance patch rolls around and it only gives +1 attack to units everywhere, which I think is more in theme with what Bilgewater actually does, right? It's a Bilgewater card, the Siren's Song, and there's all of the +1 attack, like Jagged Taskmaster gives +1 attack to all your Bilgewater units. There's no cards like that that give +1 attack, +1 health. And so that's what, to me, is kind of the big pain point in the Husk deck right now, outside of your opponent just like high rolling perfect Husks. That's a story for a different day. But as you run up against a deck like Lurk, and Lurk has a bunch of 10 power, 2 health units, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of come in and combat that. Those units are all Mystic Shottable. You can cast your normal removal spells and take them down. It's when you're amping up that health that you have to really watch yourself with. It's like wild, the difference you can see between a unit that has 3 health and 4 health and the amount of work that it's able to do. And I think that plus health bonus from the Siren Song is just going to get taken away, and things will kind of normalize. The Evelynn decks will still be quite powerful. The rest of the decks that I don't think are very good right now are going to continue to be not very good, but that's what I think we'll see. But nonetheless, if we aren't running into these awkward spots to where we're trying to run out of silence, but the opponent only has champions, or we're trying to run out of silence and the opponent only has a bunch of spell shields, that shit's going to happen, whatever. But we have a reasonable course of attack against those decks, and that's a very strong thing to be doing right now. And so I think that, this deck has a lot of grit, has a lot of strength to it. It used to be good. It's still pretty good now. I'm not 100% certain on all of the numbers. I feel like 3 Sacrificial Scholars feels like too many, but I do run into a lot of spots to where I would rather draw 2 Sacrificial Scholars as opposed to 0. And so that might be a thing. And otherwise, I've been, reasonably happy with how these games have progressed. Not running out of spells, having things to do all the time. I was, a little worried about having like double transfusion, triple Tellstones, and then needing to spend like a bunch of mana on the combat tricks and everything. But I think it's worked out kind of nicely. I'm not sold on transfusion being the combat trick that I want. I do really like to hammer home this idea. Like, this is the thing. I didn't feel a lot of this, at least people talking about this concept in the previous format, to where you have the Samira, the Youngling, the Cultist, the 6 equipment, right? And then you're able to play a combat trick if you need to. And so you want to play Samira on turn 2, and then you want to have a combat trick to come in and protect her with, so she doesn't just get killed by Mystic Shot or High Note. That's the kind of idea with Transfusion. But the downside to Transfusion is you have to have 2 units on board to actually cast it. And so you can't play it on Samira on that turn 2. But it really starts to shine if we say have that curve of Samira into Sacrificial Scholar into Transfusion. We can do the target onto Sacrificial Scholar however we want. And then just get a lot more high-powered plays out of it. But I'm thinking I might want to switch this Transfusion to that Targon card that gives a unit +1/+1 in play and +1/+1 in your hand. I think that might just be a little bit better trick overall, and it's a permanent bonus as well, and so it's kind of strong in that sense. But otherwise, exceptionally happy with everything happening across the deck here. I think we had a pretty good run today, and this is feeling pretty well positioned in the format. And so it's going to be a deck that you don't really want to be playing against Karma Set, which I think is about to be on the rise. and it has a lot of problems with the ultra aggressive decks of the format, like the really aggressive versions of Samira Jinx. But everything in the middle of that you're quite strong against. And so I think this one has a lot of meat to it, a lot of sizzle, a lot of spark, a lot of potential for greatness. And so that is going to do it for us today. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.